The Nissan Sugarbelt 400 has a traditional home at Eston, a major sugar production area nestling in rolling KwaZulu-Natal hills about 30 kilometers from Pietermaritzburg. Event headquarters are at the Beaumont Eston Farmers Club, with the pits and start-finish area providing a colorful mix of transporters, high-tech machinery and hospitality tents.
Over the years, the Nissan Sugarbelt 400 has emerged as one of the toughest and most popular events on the ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar, the race round 3 of the series. ABSA Championship races attract competitors from throughout the country, and there's plenty of activity with crews going through pre-race documentation and other formalities. Technical personnel are also hard at work as they carry out last-minute adjustments before the pre-race prologue that determines start positions for the race the next day.
Veteran former South African champion Hannes Grobler is a multiple Nissan Sugarbelt 400 winner who is well aware of the pitfalls that make the race one of the toughest on the off-road calendar.
Yeah, it's not so easy. It's a very technical route through the sugar canes, and then we've got part that's in forest and in mountain areas. It's not so easy. You must read the route very well. There's lots of rocky outcrops and so on, but it makes it nice. It's all about the off-road.
After a dream debut for the Ford racing team with a second place on the previous event, Thomas Rundle faced more challenges.
Yeah, it was a good event, last event. Obviously a dream result, as everyone has said it is. But yeah, new event, new car, left-hand drive, yeah, new challenge. The team is exceptionally professional. The guys are really committed to what they're doing, and they've done a great job. They've been under a lot of pressure to get the cars ready, and they've worked long hours, and it's really paid off. The cars are awesome.
For rookie Castrol Toyota factory driver Hein Lategang, off-road racing is a sharp learning curve.
I was talking to Serge Damso this morning, and if you go on the dirt, it's just about experience. I don't think you can learn it. There's no switch, there's no quick school. So I'm taking it step by step, learning, making mistakes, and hopefully getting somewhere.
After 2 wins in the first 2 events, the Donaldson Nissan pair of Duncan Vos and Ralph Pitchford took to the Nissan Sugarbelt a comfortable lead at the top of the production vehicle and SP class championships. There was a close battle for second and third between Nissan and Toyota crews, and also in the top 10 were 2 teams from classes D and E.
The final act at driver's briefing is always the draw for prologue start positions, with the main players the top 5 seeded crews. With prologue start positions as important as those for the race proper, there's a serious side to the draw. But in the spirit of off-road racing, the serious stuff is always tempered by some light-hearted banter.
Apart from determining grid positions for the race proper, the pre-event prologue also gives crews an idea of the conditions they can expect during the race proper. The Nissan Sugarbelt 400 prologue saw the RFS Toyota Hilux of Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst get away ahead of Hugo and Jaap de Bruyn's Micron Excel Toyota and the Donaldson Nissan Navara of Duncan Vos and Ralph Pitchford. 4th car away was the Castrol Toyota Hilux of Anthony Taylor and Robin Houghton, with the pair immediately throwing down the gauntlet to other teams with a blistering performance that earned them pole position for the race.
In a stunning performance, Taylor, a former South African circuit racing champion, and the experienced Houghton blitzed the opposition to post a time more than 90 seconds faster than Hannes Grobler and Juan Moore in the Donaldson Nissan Navara.
In off-road racing, teamwork between driver and co-driver is a fundamental requisite for success.
100 feet is 90 right, 100 feet is 90 right.
A wrong slot was to cost Grobler and Moore valuable time on the prologue, while up ahead the RFS Toyota Hilux pair of Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst were putting together a workmanlike performance. They were third fastest, albeit a minute and 40 seconds behind Taylor and Houghton.
Impromptu games allow spectators to while away the time between cars, but for drivers and co-drivers, there's no such time for such interludes. Local hero Neil Woolridge and Kenny Scholthammer posted the same time as Visser and Badenhorst with the new twin-turbo diesel Ford Ranger TDCi, again showing enormous potential. Norwegian Ivar Tollefsen and his British co-driver Quinn Evans are full of confidence these days after finishing 4th on the Dakar Rally, and we're having another good run in one of 3 factory Donaldson Nissan Navaras. Hein Latergan and Chris Birkin were going along steadily in the second Castrol Toyota, with Latergan having his first taste of Sugarbelt conditions. The Works Toyota was 6th fastest, and the Bloemfontein husband and wife team of George and Sharon Barkhuizen in the AIM Toyota Hilux were delighted with 7th place in the SP class.
The Harry Smith-based pair of Kobus van Tonde and Riaan Gulpa were nearly 3 minutes off the pace in the Unifreight Ford Ranger. They're still getting to grips with the ex-factory Ford Ranger. And also on a learning curve are Pretoria crew Christian de Ploy and Henk Janse van Vieren in the RFS Toyota Hilux. They've moved up from Class D and are also getting to grips with what is a purpose-built race car. Peter Ruthven and Deval Boshoff in the Ruhrkon Ford Ranger are another team on a learning curve, after previously campaigning in the special vehicle category, and are also running an ex-works car.
The father and son team of Hugo and Jaap de Bruin looked set for a fast time when further progress in the Micron XL Toyota Hilux came to an abrupt halt. A quick look was all that was needed to diagnose a flat tyre.
There were no such problems for another father and son team. Cliff and Louis Weigelt won Class D on the first 2 events of the season, and a clean run saw them set the fastest time in class in the N1 4x4 Toyota Hilux D4D.
The unfortunate Hugo and Jaap de Bruin was still busy changing the flat on the Micron XL Toyota when Duncan Foss and Ralph Pitchford went steaming past. All was well with the Nissan team, but that would soon change for the worse.
While a few local inhabitants were enjoying themselves, Foss and Pitchford had been stopped in their tracks by a puncture that turned into a major problem when they battled to get the wheel back on the hub. The incident was to drop them to the back of the field, behind the likes of circuit racing star Leroy Poulter and engineering boffin Rob Howie, who set the pace in Class E in the Ferodo Nissan hardbody.
A little local knowledge provided these youngsters with a grandstand view of the action, and they were obviously enjoying themselves. Other locals putting hometown knowledge to good advantage were Papi Rubeluza and Kulile Vakaliza, who set the same time as Poulter and Howie to lead the Class E brigade. Not far behind the leaders were Bloemfontein pair Louw de Bruin and Riaan Greuling in the Ruhrkon Racing Ford, previously campaigned by former champion Jack Beckham.
After a disappointing start to the season, with 2 successive non-finishers doing nothing to help their cause, former Blue Bulls scrum half Kutsia Labaskachny and Johan Gerber needed a good result. The pair were given a boost when they posted the 2nd fastest time in Class D in the Raysonics Nissan hardbody.
A steady performance took brothers Johan and Werner Horn to 3rd in Class D in the Malalan Toyota Land Cruiser. Things weren't quite as rosy for Atlas Copco Toyota pair Gary Bertolt and Andre Vermeulen, and for them the prologue had turned into a disaster.
We just came down the hill there. I think one of the tire rod ends just snapped, so the one wheel is standing in the wrong direction, but you can't drive it like that. So we'll just have to forfeit the prologue and just start tomorrow morning at the back, but then we'll start all over again. One of those things.
Good.
Thanks.
Back in the pits, it was time for service crews to assess any damage to their chargers and to prepare vehicles for the rigors of what was going to be a tough race. The lucky teams were those who needed only to make a little adjustments here and there. After a superb performance in the prologue that brought him his first pole position, Toyota's Anthony Taylor was understandably upbeat.
First time for me, it feels awesome, you know, and especially being the Nissan Sugarbelt 400 to have a Toyota in the front row of the grid, I think it's absolutely superb. So let's hope that we're going to have a brilliant result tomorrow.
At the other end of the scale, any positive pre-race plans entertained by championship leaders Duncan Foss and Ralph Pitchford now lay in complete tatters.
We didn't know it at the time, but we had brand new rims on the car, and you've got to take the slight burr off the inside of the rim off, and we hadn't done that, so we couldn't get the wheel back on, and we lost 7 or 8 minutes trying to get the wheel back on, and by that time, you know, our time total was already damaged, so we're going to have a long day tomorrow, but obviously we must just try and make the best of it.
In only his 3rd off-road race, circuit and kart star Leroy Poulter was also in a happy frame of mind.
We came and tested yesterday, found a couple of things that were wrong, and we sorted it out last night. And I mean, it's a different car. I can't believe it's the same one, and it was easy to drive, and it just showed with the performance.
Bapi Rubeluza set the same time as Poulter, but had his doubts about a race to the first corner.
First thing in the morning, it will be slippery and it will be dusty. So one has to exercise caution. I don't think, like us starting together with Leroy, I'm not sure if we can win this race on that first corner because we're starting exactly at the same time. So you just let it be for the morning session and try and improve on your pace or on your standing as the race goes on. Not in the first corner, not in the first in the morning session when it's still slippery and dusty.
After 3 wins in 3 starts this season, the team to beat in the special vehicle category were former champions Evan Hutchinson and Achim Bergman in the impressive new Motorite Revo 1 4x4.
Hoping to make up for a disappointing Eastern Cape 400 was Limpopo driver Naim Mosaji.
Hopefully a much better weekend. Things just didn't go well for us there. We had a lot of small minor problems and a bit of driving error here and there, but hopefully overcome all that. We haven't been here for the Sugarbelt last year, so looking forward to it again.
2 steady outings took Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson to second in the championship, and they were looking for more of the same.
Plans is pretty much to do what we've been doing, not get too caught up in the championship, although we, in the back of my mind, is quite aware of it. But the whole idea was to get through to the desert with solid finishing, and that's what we've been doing. So same strategy. We've got new tyres, so we have to keep it a little bit more tidy this weekend.
For new kids on the Class P block, Johan van Staden and James Rousseau, it was their first Nissan Sugarbelt race.
Yeah, we have spoken to some of the other crews like Jan Kraai, and they've given us a few tips, what to do and what not to do to stay in the race, and we're going to try and follow some of the recipe, and we'll see how it goes further on the prologue. The class is getting quite big. Competitors are getting more and more, and I think it's going to be one of the biggest classes on the national events.
Going into the Nissan Sugarbelt 400, former champions Evan Hutchinson and Achim Bergman held a comfortable championship lead, but only 2 points separated the next 3 crews. 3 crews from Class P and 1 Class B team also featured in the top 10 in the overall standings.
As is the case in the production vehicle category, the top 5 seeds in the special vehicle category draw for prologue start positions, with Hutchison and Bergman starting ahead of Shamir Varayawa and Siegfried Rousseau.
With a half a dozen or more crews capable of winning overall, the battle for grid positions in the special vehicle category was going to be a fierce one. On an event like the Nissan Sugarbelt 400, a good start position is just as important as it is in a Formula 1 at Monaco. Motor racing is unpredictable at the best of times, and there was a turn-up for the books when Mark Corbett and Rudy Balzer set the fastest time in the stubby-looking Century Property Development Racing CR1 4x4.
Colin Matthews and new co-driver Mark de Chalane then gave the Century Property Development team a further boost by setting the second fastest time in a bat. In the process, the pair nearly accounted for cameraman Gordon Hiles, who was closer to the action than he would have liked. The third quickest time went to Hutchison and Bergman in the Motorite Revo 1 4x4, with a pair just over a minute behind Corbett and Balzar. Some good in-car footage gives a bird's eye view of the action, with one of the special vehicle drawbacks, the lack of a windscreen.
Third fastest time went to the Sulwolds, former South African champion Herman and his son Bichard in the Sulwold Transport Zarco. It was their best performance of the season, with the Nissan Sugarbelt only Bichard's 3rd national race. Behind the Sulwolds, another steady performance from Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson took the Regent Racing Bat into 4th place, with only 5 seconds separating the 2 cars.
Next up were former quad racer Ginny Zahos and Stefan Kutsia in the nicely turned out Mountain Dew Porter, which won last year's race in the hands of Gary Bertelt and Andre Vermeulen. The Mountain Dew car was followed by the first of the Class P brigade, with Jan Kraai and his son Hendrik setting the fastest time in the Keymax Bat.
Class P is ultra-competitive this season, and only 29 seconds behind the Keymax car were local crew Don Thompson and Don Blakely in a Zarco. The Class B pace was set by local farmer Brett Gurney in a JRE single-seater. Driving and navigating were no problem for Gurney, and he brought the JRE home 35 seconds ahead of another local crew, Rob Spencer and Gareth Mumford, who were out in another Zarko.
Since making its debut last year, the CR1 has been plagued by reliability problems, but Corbett wasn't anticipating more of the same this time round.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just a process of elimination. We slowly ironed out all the things, and Rudy was really on the money today with the navigating. So thanks to him, and thanks to Rudy and Julian for all their hard work putting the car together. It's been a long ride for us to finally get a finish, and nice to get a finish with a win on the time trial.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going off the beaten track to find solutions.